Hello, 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 everyone. This is Demetrius Curry with another amazing show of Financially Fit Fridays. We are running a few minutes behind today because we have a little bad weather going on in the area, but look, delayed, not denied, because I'm so glad we had the opportunity to work with you guys. So let's talk about what we need to get done today. And let's always walk into some of the recaps of everything that we've done so far. So, as a recap, listen to this. We have been on this show this second season talking about things in Financially Fit Friday that is so important for your finances. We've talked about your budget, we've talked about estate planning. We've also brought on some amazing experts in life insurance. We've also introduced government contracting for those business owners that are trying to use contracting, government contracting in their lines of business. We've talked about real estate investing, how to's, what to do and what not to do. But here's the question: how do you get the mind ready for this? And we also talked about mindset. That was one of the first things that we talked about this season in this show. But something told me let's dig deeper. Let's dig deeper into the mindset of what happens when we're trying to make decisions, not only just about finances, just about life, right? But today we're focusing in on what hurdles we're having to overcome. So I reached out to my friend, Dr. Paul Dyer. Let me tell you about Dr. Paul Dyer. Dr. Paul, we had some history. We actually were on a show together back in 2019, I believe, and I was on his show as a guest speaker. And we were talking about financial literacy in the community and how to get everyone on board on getting their finances in order. So I had the opportunity to reconnect, get back in contact with him, and guess what? I said, Paul, I need you. I need you over here. I need you over here to talk about the science behind it all and why we're doing what we're doing and why we're not doing the things that we need to be doing, right? So I'm so glad that we have the opportunity to bring him here with us today. Dr. Paul Dyer, listen, I've got to tell you about some of his accolades, okay? You're talking about a man that has not only mastered the martial arts, you know, as he's a grandmaster of the martial arts, but he's also what? Four-time received PhD, three master degrees, all in the areas of neuroscience and learning the tricks and the trade of how to do this thing in his brain, how to get it right, what we do, behavioral development of our behaviors, and all of those things that really make a difference in what we're doing today and how we actually maneuver through life. So I cannot wait to bring to you Mr. Paul Dyer. Paul, can you hear me?
I can.
Paul, I'm so glad we got a chance to get back together. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Every so I would say I am moving forward always. And what I mean by that is that as a person, and thank you for the introduction, but one of the things that people don't take into context, they say, oh, Dr. Paul or DP, he's so smart, he's so this, he has it all together. And yet I'm still struggling with PTSD and gathering and understanding those triggers and those emotions. And that's why I got into neuroscience, is really to understand who I was and how I can contribute to civilization. So that's always been an important factor to me. My mother, I love to say this phrase to people because my mother was a drum beat for us. She says, if you're going to grow to be a strong tree, make sure you drop fruit so other people can eat.
Mhm. I love
So
that.
so that's what I've been really dedicated my life to, is the humanity of all things we can do together or individually, but to be aware of the reasons of, right? Not the why, but the reasons of.
I love that. And you know what? I'm glad that you mentioned that. I didn't want to get in here telling your business about your PTSD. But I'm glad. Listen, but here's the thing. But I knew that that was one of the driving forces behind what
Yeah,
started it all, right? And so, can we talk about that for a second? I mean, how does that
absolutely.
really? play into, what people are doing right now, because there's a lot of people that's going through that right now,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
trying to maneuver through life and trying to make the right decisions, and then certain triggers that sort of knock them off of what they're getting ready to do. Tell me, how did you use that into developing what you're doing right now in the community?
I believe in training. I believe in training and education, meaning not just education is in school, but education is the things you learn around you. You have environmental education, you have what you call emotional education, you have you there's many things in nature and in this universe that is a driving force that could teach you. You just have to be prepared to open up all those windows and doors to listen to that education that life is teaching you. Now that you have it, my mother used to say, now that you have it, what are you going to do with it? What's next? Now that you know 2 plus 2 is 4, what's next? What is your next step to doing that? So it was being trained, learning how to train, learning how to practice, learning the science of life. Now it's time for me to contribute. And as much as I learn, as much as I will continue to learn, as much as I will continue to do the research, as much as I continue to help as many people as I can, it is still about learning and delivering. Because education isn't just for me or all the things I've learned, it's about our community and how we can pull together.
That I love that, and you're so right, because it's like each one teach one, right? And if we get
Right.
that,
Right.
if we get that down, then it's so much more that we can be doing out here in the community. Oh my goodness! So when you and I were having this conversation, we were just talking earlier this week. I said, "Now, Paul, listen, we can go down rabbit hole together." So we're gonna try to keep this thing intact. But in the area of financial literacy, one of the things that I've worked with, and you know this over the last 30 years, is the mindset.
Hmm.
Renewing of the mind. The renewing of a mind. It sounds so simple, but it has a lot of intricate things that you have to do, right? And like one of the things you just mentioned, practice to help that renewing of the mind and wanting to actually fit into something that you want to change, or adjust into something you want to change. But it takes getting a rhythm, right? Getting a rhythm. And so, but let's talk about how we can actually get our minds right. But from a science perspective, this is the part that I really, really love, because I'm a big science person. I've always been really big into science. So I love the ideas of how these things pop off in your brain, and then what triggers this or what makes this happen. But how does that even correlate together, Dr. Brian?
I think one of the things I'm going to it's a huge disclaimer. You have to be inquisitive. You have to be. If you're not inquisitive, then you're shutting yourself out of your own life. You're shutting yourself down, so you're not living anymore. You're surviving, right? So, and as we know, in many studies, if you're only surviving, you're shutting down 3 quarters of your brain because you're only living in the survival mode of your brain, right? And we know that is freeze, flight. Uh, so, with that, why are you shutting yourself down? People say, well, I'm not shutting myself down. I get up every day and I go to work. You're surviving work. You are trying to get there to get back so you can pay a bill or two, but you're not living your life. You're not exploring the ideas of what could be possible. So that shuts your brain down for any cognitive understanding, any consciousness of movement, and then your subconscious background is just running your life, and your subconscious has been developed since you were a young child. So but you have no contribute you're not contributing to your conscious life. You're only living from a code that was taught to you previously or previously or previously. So you may be living the same code as your great great grandparents who had to survive. who had to survive, especially if you're an African American, and especially if you're a person of overseas. There's lots of turmoil of your country being bombed and it's famine, and there's a lot of tragic things that happens around the world. And if you only want to take that and say, I just want to live for my next paycheck or my next food or my next relationship, and you're not willing to be vulnerable enough to say, I don't know, I need to learn, but wait a minute, where do I learn? So there it goes, you have to be inquisitive. And if you're not inquisitive, we're all slowly dying. That's easy. But if you're not inquisitive, then you're setting yourself back decades of work that people have done for you so you can be better.
Wow, wow. So inquisitive, wanting to learn more, wanting
Yeah.
to experience other things, wanting to break yourself out of the box. Like they said in the Matrix, or the red pill versus the blue pill.
Right, right, right.
Those things, right? To want to have more, and to know you deserve to have more, though, right? To know
Well,
that
that's
you.
well, that's tough. That's tough. People don't believe they deserve. People don't believe they deserve until someone pours into them, right? Because that's why we do mentoring, right? We're like, you deserve to have this information. When I teach kids or talk to kids or people younger than me who wants to learn things, you deserve this knowledge. You deserve this education. It is now for you to use it, and that's wisdom. But if you don't believe you deserve it and we're pouring into you, we can only do that for so long before we run out because there are other people who want to do this. So we pour into them. We believe us, believe me, we will always pour into you if you're ready to eat. We will feed you if you're ready to not starve. We will help hydrate you with the liquid knowledge that we have so you can grow your flowers for yourself.
We might well stop right there. You dropping mics every 5 seconds, Paul. Listen, listen. Survivorship, being vulnerable, being more inquisitive. I have this conversation with my mom quite often, and I've told her this. I said, I have yet one life to live, yet
That's
one,
it.
yet one. And I don't know what God's going to do with me after everything is gone. You know what I mean? When it's time for me to go home, then y'all got to take the baton and keep on going. You know what I'm saying? But you got one life to live. And in that time frame that you were here, it is up to us, which is why we have that free will. It is up to us to actually say, you know what? I want to make some movements in my life. I want to better position myself. I want to actually be able to pass some things down that I didn't get a chance to receive. Right, right. All of those things about inquiring, being inquisitive, stepping out of the survivorship mode that you just mentioned. There are so many people right now that is in survivorship mode. But it's not that the information is not out here to receive.
Right.
How do we start to say, okay, I see this information, I'm holding myself back. And the reason why I'm holding myself back is because mentally, I've never had anything before. I never had anything greater before. I never experienced anything better than what I have currently before. So I don't think it's possible. But now you got that inquisitive, now you got to implement. Am I going in the right direction, Paul?
You are, because you remember it is a tremendous miracle that you, the individual, is alive today. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of cells who happen to meet to get into an embryo to having to connect for you to start, for life to start forming. That's, you couldn't bet on those odds in any gambling arena, what you couldn't win in Vegas if you bet on those odds. You would die at the gambling table thinking you're going to win these odds. That's how tremendous this life is. It is an amazing life that you are here on this earth. Okay, so now that you're here, right? We can't do anything about your where you were born. Okay, that's out, right? We cannot do anything about your environment. That's out. But now that you of age, that's why we have aging ceremonies. That's why many cultures have aging ceremonies or traditions. There's a myriad of many countries that do this. But now that you are of age, what are you going to do now?
That's it. That's it. What are you going to do now? So the mental capacity of, and I've heard this, and in our business, and you and I are in the same boat when it comes to having to, work with people on different levels of where their mind is, and that can be, it can be someone that has never had anything in life and is barely making, or to someone that has had everything given to them in life and they were already, rich when they came into this world. But you have to actually have the capacity to meet them where they are. And when you meet them where they are, how do you start working with them on changing the perspective of who or how they see themselves? How they
So
see
I
themselves.
So I have done clinics. People come online, they pay me to do a clinic to understand about the brain and the acknowledgement how the brain works, right? And in those classes, I say, as you're learning for yourself, everyone's an individual. I'm going to teach you about the brain, but what I want you to do is apply it to yourself because you're going to come up with some aha moments like I didn't know that. I didn't know that about me. I didn't know that this was a block for me. I didn't know I had this transgression that I couldn't get over because I was afraid. Now we start to get into fear factors. It is if you're only surviving and you recognize that you're living in fear, then you're either gonna run, you're either going to fight or you're going to freeze. And if you have to then decide, not that I'm going to run, not that I'm going to fight, and not that I'm going to freeze, but I'm going to live. So once you decide that you're going to live, it opens up the other three quarters of your brain. Remember, anytime that people have survived a situation, whether it be plane crashes in the Alps or plane crashes in some remote or climbing, or you get into an accident when you're even the soldiers that are out there on the battlefield, we are coming home. We don't expect to die. We expect to live, do our mission, and come back. So we train to live. We don't train to die. We train to live. So people got to say to themselves, this ain't killing me. I'm going to live. Not I'm going to survive hiking out of a mountainous area because something happened, I hurt my knee, but I'm going to live. So those people have crawled out, dehydrated, malnutrition, but they made it out and they live because it was the mental choice. That's it.
I love that. I'm gonna have to use that in my life, right? You just gave me something. You just gave me something. I'm either gonna run, I'm gonna fight, or I'm gonna freeze. Listen, you just gave me so. I hope those people that are listening here right now, I hope y'all got that real good, because the example that you just used was perfect of how people actually make the decision to pull themselves out of things,
Hmm.
to be able to make it to another day and say whether I am dragging myself through it or not, by all means necessary,
Yep.
it's gonna happen. And I'm gonna make sure it happens because I'm not giving up. That is truly mind blowing on the next level of here. So 3/4 of the brain is the part that we're trying to tap into, right? Is that the
Yep.
areas that we're trying
Yep.
to tap into? The three-quarters of the
Absolutely.
brain. Let's talk about that. Tell me more about the three-quarters of the brain.
So we receive things by our senses. We have five known senses, and then we have I thoroughly believe, and I wrote this in my latest book, Emotional Neurophysics too. We have the ability to have another sixth sense, that internal sense, right? Because we taste, we smell, we touch, we hear, we see. That's how we get information in. The way it pours into our brain is now it transposes, but it goes through a filter that you either apply to yourself or someone applied it for you. I'll say it again. It goes through a filter that either you applied to yourself or someone applied it for you, your filter. Because the way the remember the brain has the people have human behavior has been studied past Socrates, right? He learned from Plato. It was something he was always talking about. If you ever read The Republic, right? It's one of my favorite books, right? The Republic. It was just about how humans were forming and delivering and how they were coming together. It opened up their minds, which is why, many people get killed when they start to open up the minds of other people. But
Mm,
but that is what your higher control factors are trying to do. They're trying to get you to not think, not be inquisitive, to not be cognizant of the actions that are going on around you so you stay stuck. Now, if you're okay with someone controlling you, then become inquisitive. Oh, it does being inquisitive mean that you have to now go out and stand on a line in a picket sign? No. Does it mean that you have to go do something else extraordinary? No. What's extraordinary is one, that you're alive. Two, now that you're inquisitive, your prefrontal cortex is now lighting up, which is where your cognition comes in, which where your thought process comes in, which where your reasoning development comes in. Now that that's lighted up, now you go back into the center part of your brain where we call the pleasure center, where that lights up and it starts to give you an euphoric feeling of doing something amazing for yourself. Now,
mm,
people say, if I do something amazing for myself, does that mean I'm selfish? You have to pour into yourself first. You have to fill up first before you can start reaching out for anybody else. And the way you pour into yourself is like, how do I get better at this? I don't care if it's getting better at driving a car or getting better at understanding a book. We have so many people out here. You can call me if you want. And it doesn't text me and say, I read this book, I don't understand it. Now the questions come in, so I help you understand what you think you've heard. Right? I'm not going to give you your answer, but I'm going to help you start to be more inquisitive. That opens up more thought processes, which opens up more part of your synapses, which signals to all the rest of the part of your body and your organs that we are alive and we are healthy. And they start rejuvenating different cell structures just to carry information about the life that you are living, not surviving. Surviving does not transmit to cells to say, oh, just hang on, I'll be right with you. No, it doesn't do that.
listen, mind blown, mind blown. This is the thing. One of the things that we always try to tell our teams and tell our clients and our partners is continuing to flood your mind with the right type of things. The type of stuff that's negative on TV all the time, you can't watch it all the time. That you just can't continue to feed yourself and think that positive stuff is going to come out, right?
Right.
The stuff that you're putting in is what's going to be coming out, right? And so that's why reading of the right materials, surrounding yourself with people of likeliness that's trying to do the things that you're trying to do, and things of that nature, right? And so what you just spoke of, the cortex of how we get that to sort of start moving, and the way we want it to move is to feed it what we want it to have. And I love what you said there as far as like, how do we move that now? Because in financial literacy, One of the things that we're working with, and this is why I want to have this conversation with you today, is they know what to do, but they're not doing it. They have the blueprint. They have the steps. We provide the steps. Even in what you do, you provide them steps. You provide them, but we still find ourselves having to tell them, hey, listen, you deserve this. Believe in yourself. Start thinking of more than what you always thought. The people that have always told you that you can't have, because they don't have. They don't believe it for themselves.
Right,
So they're
right.
not going to believe it for you. Right. And so sometimes you have to be that black sheep and step yourself away. It's not selfish to feed into yourself, just like you just said. It's not selfish to feed into yourself. And so that's why when people are asking, renewing of the mind, well, no one really knows what that means. Isn't that a good cliche, right? Like,
It's true. Because no one, people hear it, people say it's manifestation. Okay. First of all, great phrase, wonderful, it's great for a postcard. But you don't have no idea what manifestation is. Okay? So, how are you going to learn manifestation? You have to ask someone that's have gone through the fire to so you can understand the fire you are in. Not my fire, your fire. That's why when people try to like I've been teaching meditation for a very long time and it drives me crazy when people say, "Oh, you got to meditate." I know, first of all, techniques of meditation. I know 60 types of techniques of meditation. I have a senior who knows over 200. So there are different types of meditation that you can pour into yourself so you can feel the next aura of yourself, right? The level of aura that you have around you. Unless you feel, if unless you don't meditate and you don't feel yourself glowing to that next level of light within yourself, not the next level of light outside yourself, within yourself. For we are transmitters and receivers. What are you transmitting? What are you transmitting? How are you transmitting it? How are you tuning into yourself so your transmission is clear? When your transmission is clear, manifestation starts the process of the seed. That's all it does. Okay, so now that you are clear with your transmission, you are you are the seed is starting to grow. Guess what you have to feed it? You have to bring in nutrients. That comes with being inquisitive. The nutrients that people have, you start to feed your seed. That seed will then grow. Grow into what? That's that's your growth, not my growth. I can't say if you do this, it's going to grow a money tree, or it's going to grow a love tree, or helping your kids grow tree. No, it's what you're transmitting to yourself of what you want to manifestate. But you got to get the nutrients from education and knowledge so you can apply it, and that's wisdom. You know, how come C suites executives call us the most? Because even though they're there, they realize they need more. But a person who's a senior executive will call me so fast. They have found me so fast. But a person that you say, "Hey, have you thought about this?" They're like, "Nah, I'm good." What? What? What are you talking about? What do you mean? Nah, I'm good. I'm good. Wow. Okay.
Listen. But a senior VP or a CEO of a corporation or something, and they're calling you for, hey, I need your input. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah. How crazy is that? How crazy? Because everyone needs someone to help them stay. where they're trying to go and take them here next level.
Next level.
And it's always a next level, and next level. See, I'm so glad I got you in my life, Paul. You be having my brain going crazy. And
So it's fascinating because I do projects on behavior science. Some people want to. I'll give you an example. Um, wants to build a building in your hometown. Okay, they reach out to different techniques. For me, it's behavior. If I build a building on this street, this cross street, how would it affect the environment around it, and how would it affect the people? Those are the questions I get. Cool. Of course, they're also reaching out to soil scientists. Would this be viable? Construction scientists will, if I want to build it this way in this frame. They do that 20 years in advance, 10 years in advance before a brick hits pavement or hits the ground. They're already looking at how it's going to move and how people are going to behave because of this, right? I do all the research on that, and it's fascinating that people get moved by buildings and operations like sheep. So it's like a detour sign. People are just like, oh, I can't go there, I'll just turn right. I can't go there, I'll just turn left. But they don't think about, well, what's coming up here? Is this going to be good for my community? Is this going to be good for me? Is this going to be valuable for they don't even think about it. All of a sudden this building erects, like they think it's all of a sudden, and it erects in within a year. But this plan has been going on of how to distract you, move you, disturb you, and they know it. Why? Because I gave them the study. I've done this. Yeah,
wow. So you're talking with these and I love you saying this because this is so big here. When they're trying to make big decisions about what area will actually be a, I guess, next level new development, bringing new things to town, changing it a whole landscape of what it once was. And then it's over a period of time because of the behavioral development studies that they're doing with you.
yeah,
Wow. That is powerful. So if I get ready to build me a new apartment complex somewhere, I say, hey, should I put it right here?
yeah. Should I put it here or should I put it there? And if I put it here, who's going to be my tenants? Right?
Yeah.
And the tenants I do get, are they going to be are they going to be valued enough to pay that what I need for them to pay?
Mm, that's it right there. That's it right there. Because just because you put a building right here doesn't mean you're gonna have the right target audience.
Correct.
Yeah,
And
and
then
you have
and
to.
then and then the audience you do targeting, you know that could be gentrification, which moves other audiences out. And people don't realize, like, they already know they're going to move you out, which is why they build inexpensive housing so many miles away, because that's where you're getting pushed to anyway.
That is so true. That's so true. We recently had a project, something similar to that, on the gentrification side of the house. And we could actually see it over the course of the 5 to 10 years of who's coming in, who's moving out, what corporations are coming in, what gyms, what coffee shops, what you see what I'm saying? And those things are not in the realm of someone that's in a maybe possible lower income stream. No, this is for those that they're bringing in to be able to enjoy, and then those other things are slowly moving out. But the all of it is a development of what's going to happen here. How do you get this thing moving? And then those things happen over time. And I love that you brought that up. That's crazy. Manifestation. What are you transmitting? And what are you receiving? And that's where the manifestation happens. That is the part of where we need to be putting things together. What we're receiving, couldn't that even be our own circle of people?
It is, and I'll tell the reason why I hesitated is because you can have a circle that's close to you, maybe family members, maybe close friends, that will never be on your level. Okay, let's just say if that's the case, could you still love them? Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't have to push people away to keep their negative vibration away from you. You don't have to say, you know what, my sister, brother, cousin, whatever, friend, I'm cutting you off because I'm moving to a whole different space. No, love is love. You can love them. You can cherish them. You can honor them. You can be respectful to them. You can do all those things. They can still come to your dinner and have the house. But if you're going to allow the verbiage to attack your manifestation, that's your fault. Cutting people out is like fighting them. We're not here to fight someone, we're here to achieve. Once you
Mm,
start fighting against someone, you're not achieving anymore. You're back in the survival mode. And once you're back in the survival mode, what happens? Three-quarters of your brain starts shutting down again. It's as simple as that. It just starts shutting off lights and be like, well, guess this person doesn't need us anymore. Let's save energy. The heart's like, great, because I'm pumping all these liters of blood. I'll take the energy. It keeps me up and moving, but the brain is like, well, we're not living, we're surviving, so I guess I don't need to think anymore. I just need to react. I don't need to ask questions anymore. I just need to do. So now you become a puppet of your own anxiety and anxiousness because you're fighting people that you shouldn't be fighting. Just because they don't agree with you is not a fight.
that's right.
Just
That's right. It's just agree to disagree and say, hey, this is just not what I'm trying to do. I
yeah,
am here. I love you. This is what, we're always going to be love and family, right? But at this time,
you're right.
I got to stay focused on my job at hand and what I'm trying to do for me and my family. You see what I'm saying?
Because think about
Absolutely.
it. If someone said to you, say, hey, Demetrius, you don't call me anymore. We don't talk as much anymore. I see you're always busy. You're doing this, you're doing that. Did you forget about me? First of all, if a person loved you, that question would never come up. But if a person's also in survivor mode, they will ask you those questions because they want you to drag them out of drowning. And you can't do that because they want to drown.
Mm, mm, mm. Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. Hadn't even thought about it that way, Paul. See, that's why I'm be asking you these questions. Hadn't even thought about that way. That hey, they want to pull you in, because they need to get out themselves, and that's a
Yeah.
that's a whole nother conversation. We can talk about this all day. Meditation, and I was so excited that we were going to talk about meditation today because I love to meditate too, and first thing in the morning, you know, this is just what I do. I get into the sauna, I sit there and I talk to God, and I just sit there and just quiet, just
Mhm.
quiet. And the you never understand the importance of quiet, right? Until you get it, and it allows you to actually hear yourself think, talk to yourself in a way. I've talked to myself just sitting like this. Said, what voice was that? Oh, that was my internal voice. Yeah,
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
your internal voice is just going right and talking, and you're like, wow. I worked that whole thing out with just me being quiet because I was contemplating this or contemplating that or trying to figure this and like, Lord, what do you think? And okay, yeah, that does make sense. Okay. And I'm just quiet sitting there, just relax, sitting outside in the middle of the yard, sitting on the grass, doing absolutely nothing, listening to the birds, listening to the trees, listening to the wind. And those things of quiet is it lets off a completely different internal feeling. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. And it's because for me, I love outdoors. I love outdoors. And outdoors in nature really teaches me every time I'm out in the outdoors, I learn a lesson. I learn a lesson. And it's because of that peace that allows for the information to pour into you. Remember, our universe is built on signs, symbols, and recognition. There are signs, there are symbols. Do you recognize the sign? Do you recognize the symbol? Because that is the universe talking to you. That is your God talking to you. That is your higher self seeing through the trees, right? It is so amazing, right? So I know people say it's so hard. First of all, I was molested as a kid. I i been through a lot of hardship as a young child, as a young black boy. Trust me and believe when I say that everyone can start living when they start to learn about themselves. You can live. You don't have to stay stuck. It is not so much what I've been through, what I haven't, what I've gone through, and you don't know my life stories, walk in my shoes. It doesn't, all those are just sayings for you to stay stuck. That's it. Is for
Yes.
you to stay stuck. And if you want to stay stuck, that's probably also another question. If you feel like you want to stay stuck, that's the fear saying, don't move past me. Right? You can't move past me. And I won't let you move past me.
That's right. That's right. Which is why I journaled for so many years. It just allows me to get it out. And you and I talked about this with my book, Bright Days Ahead, that we released in 2022. It was 12 years of just journaling, of getting out being a victim of being held at gunpoint,
Right.
of getting out of being a victim of, you know, living in domestic violence, getting out all those things, right? Getting it out so that you can start to get over those humps and not stay there and stay in the midst of, okay, my fear, stay in the midst of my pain, stay in the midst of those things. That was hurdles, that are hurdles to get over, but they're hurdles that's achievable. They're not, when I say hurdle, that
Right.
doesn't mean that it's a block, it's a stone wall. It means it's something that you have to jump over. And so if
Mm-hmm.
you jump over that thing, then you off to the races, right? Jump over
I
the hurdle, off to the races.
I want people to think of this, and I know we're closing down in time. If we look at what you call our geopolitics, world politics, or if you look at the United States' political atmosphere, or if you look at your state political atmosphere, or your community where your mayor is, and where your it is worked out to keep you where you are so they can advance.
See, Paul. See why you had to bring that up. See,
Because it's part of the reason why you are also stuck is because people are not just betting, people are aligning different things so you stay stuck. Oh, I go to the bank, I didn't get a loan. Oh well, I guess that's not it. No, that's not it. You better ask somebody. You better ask somebody, right? I want to buy a house. I don't know if I can afford it. I only make, this much money a week. You better ask somebody. You better ask somebody, right? Because you're the only one that's boo boo the fool. You're the only one that's boo boo the fool.
you so right. We talked about that not too long ago. I said so many things in this economic climate is to trick you to thinking that you this is the only way that you just can't have it because that first attempt was a no.
Right.
Or it doesn't necessarily mean it's a no. It means you need another strategy
That's
or
it.
possible. You know what I'm saying? Another strategy or another approach to get things done. Maybe that way was not the way to get it done. But when you're getting ready to understand what you're trying to do, sketch out the blueprint so you hit all the marks, and now you're able to do to the next thing. I mean, goodness gracious, you just opened up a whole can of worms there. But you and I were talking about this the other day. Remember, I was telling you that one of the things that really irks me as far as economic climate and trying
Yeah.
to help people get to the next level of life is the things that are built in to put you in a box. And This gonna be taxation no matter where we are. But the taxation of this, and this,
Hmm.
from the time that you leave your 9 to 5 job to the time that you are putting gas in your car to the time that you are eating dinner with your family. That's taxation as well. Taxation on your groceries, taxation on your land, everything has that taxation there. So for me, in my mind, but things that I cannot control is those things, right? The things that I can control, I do control. Budgets, I do control. My discretionary, I do control. Be in a position to bring in other streams of income, right? That may not be taxable. That I may have to be an entrepreneur in some form or fashion, then pay taxes of what's left behind when you time to your tax season, that kind of thing. Whatever. But those things are the areas that we get stuck in, like you just said, the economic climate of I'm getting stuck, I'm getting a brick wall every time I go to the bank to get a loan, or every time I do this, every time I do that. How do I get past all this? You really ironed out today the mind of being inquisitive, jumping out of survivorship mode, right? And to also making sure we are trying to move our mind and our manifestation to the next level by checking what we're receiving and what we're putting out. That, I mean, you just dropped the mic on us, Paul. I mean, it's what else?
Well, I know people often ask, well, okay, all right, Dr. P, all right, DP, how do I start? I'm going to give you three simple ways to start.
Yes.
If you're a right-hander, start doing things with your left hand. If you brush your teeth with your right hand, start brushing your teeth with your left hand. If you just start in your house, I know it can get kind of confusing because you're going to pick it up naturally, which you naturally do. But if you want, you say that's what conscious living is. I'm going to brush my teeth. I'm going to use my left hand. That's conscious action. Not I'm going to go brush my teeth and automatically I do the thing I do naturally do with my right hand. Start doing things with the opposite hand. Opening doors with your opposite hand. Reach for things with your opposite hand. You will find out how difficult that is to be so thinking all the time because people are not thinking about their actions. So if you can start just doing things actionable in thought, then do it with your opposite hand. And you're going to say, man, that feels so uncomfortable. Now, you can extrapolate how that's uncomfortable, and you're just reaching for a glass of water with an opposite hand. Just think of how cumbersome you've been living your life that's been dragging you down because you can't see a different way. So, my way is to start doing things with an opposite hand. Think about it, do it, complete it. That's it.
Perspective.
Yep.
I just heard you say perspective. Is it? I know you just said a lot right there, but what I got out of it was change the perspective. Is that
Yep.
is that where we at?
That's where we're at. But you're spot on. But to start changing your perspective, start doing things that you know you can do with a different hand, and you start to understand how different throughout the day.
Wow, powerful. So just start off with just as simple as things of changing how you reach for things using your opposite hand. You know, that's powerful right there. My husband is a left-hander, but he does a lot of things with his right hand, which is yeah, I think y'all that military thing y'all be doing back in the day. I can't tell if he's left hand or right hand most days. I'm like, I know you right with this hand, but you do everything with this hand, so this is so weird, right? But it's crazy. Paul, you have just brought so much information to us today. Oh my goodness! Look at the baby! Look at the baby! You brought
Yeah,
so much
he
information.
he wanted to
Huh?
get on camera. He's my support dog. I have a support dog. He takes care of me. So we're talking, and he could actually feel my pulse and my heartbeat if I get. And so right now he's just sitting here wagging his tail. He's happy.
I love it. I love it, and I'm glad that you had a good senses. I have two cats. They do me the same way. It's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing, but they can feel what you're feeling, which is something else.
Absolutely.
Something else. Man, so much information today, Paul. But you gave me my own assignments. You
That's
don't
right.
realize it, but you gave me my own assignments as well. We've had these conversations, but that's run, fight, or freeze. Oh yeah, we gonna hold on to that for a minute, hon. Because that's exactly what we're doing. We just don't realize that's what we're doing. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to do some manifestation as well. So we're going to have to talk about this again. We got
Absolutely.
we have
Absolutely.
to talk about this again. How do the audience connect with you? I want to make sure we did have your information up here. Our assistant April is in the background. She put up your book for emotional neurophysics as well. We're going to re-put that back up right now. And that for people trying to get this book, please make sure you look at the description in this YouTube video. We will have that information there. And then also, but how do they connect with you if they want to have a conversation or study with you, sir?
Just reach. I would say just you can. Anyway, I'll give it to you succinctly. So it's dr. My email is drpaulwdyer, Dr. Paul W. Dyer at Gmail. That's easy. Or you can call me and send me a text and let me know who you are and why you want to contact me. And that's 860-389-2188. I'm very accessible. I'm very
You're
accessible.
you're very accessible and a great friend. I truly appreciate you for being here and coming on and talking to me about my brain and,
You are
and why
welcome.
my brain plays tricks on me sometimes. But you're keeping me in line. You're keeping me in line, and I thank you. I thank you for that. Truly. Okay, look like they have some info here. Yes, we're gonna actually drop that in there. We're gonna add all your details inside the description. Paul, thank you so much for being here with us. Okay, hold on,
You're
just hold
welcome.
the line. We're coming right back. We're holding the line, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. What an amazing show. What an amazing show with Dr. Paul Dyer. I mean, imagine being in a position where you're trying to figure out what to do next and you know what you want to do, but for some reason you're stuck. You just can't figure out why you can't just move to the next level. Why can you not think outside the box? And you have these goals. We've written down these goals. We know what we want to do. We have an idea of where to go. We even check with Chat GPT and all this other stuff and got a layout. But for some reason you're frozen and you don't know what to do, and you're like, hey, for some reason I can't get my mind to do what my body wants to do, and I need some type of answers. Dr. Paul Dyer talked about today about the mind itself, how it works the way it works, and what we need to be doing first to start getting ourselves together. Try doing just bits and pieces at a time to do things a little bit opposite of what you've always done. And so we thought this conversation was truly, truly important because let me tell you why it was important. Because when we're talking about financial fit Fridays and we're talking about getting your mind and your finances together, 90% of the issue that we're having is the mind of just believing yourself long enough to get it done and believing that you can do things the way it needs to be done and using and implementing all the tools that you've been provided. So from real estate to, just really life, whether it be budgets or learning how to get more income or learning how to, get your business in line or maybe just doing things for your family and your estate planning, no matter what it is, you have to make your mind up that you're going to do it. And if you don't know what's holding you back, then how do you get over it? So today, talking about those hurdles, those struggles, and for you to get a understanding of what's going on internally is what this show was about today. So I'm so thankful and so glad that we had the opportunity to be here with him today. And guys, if you missed any of the show, please go back and look at the recap, share it, like it, subscribe, make sure that you are getting this out to your friends and family for those people that can help the most. Once again, thank you guys for a wonderful